Okay then, kind of similar to how it was against Dark Yojimbo, I'm slowly starting to set up a little bit more of a kind of like an opening gambit against these guys, and much like how for Dark Yojimbo using Threaten really helped, I'm considering using Auron in much the same way. Basically the idea, it feels increasingly to me like if I can stop White Wind from happening, and I can full break Penance, then I can basically keep the damage under control. Well, I guess I can break this guy too, and that way basically we can kind of keep everything under control. As long as these guys have the brakes on and White Wind isn't used, then I'm in a much better position to be able to survive longer term in this fight. So I'm thinking that maybe that's a nice way to start. Let's see here. But obviously it hinges on making sure we get a Threaten in on this arm first. Basically, I want to take it one step further and slow Auron as well. Because Yuna and Riku have an auto haste here, it's not as big of a deal. But I want Auron to be able to threaten while being slowed to make it even more effective. So the CTB is just going to be completely off there. But Auron has now been slowed. And so it means that it's going to use White Wind once, but then second time around, it shouldn't be able to do it. So I'm going to start just getting my damage in here. I just want to see how we do. Because I think once Penance's mental broken, if I can stop the White Wind happening as well, these double cast ultimates are going to hurt a lot. They're going to do a lot of damage. So we might be able to opt for like a much more fast and furious strategy with Auron keeping the White Wind arm in check. So it's going to be a lot of work to do here, and I don't think I'm going to have enough, again, like enough turns to kind of set this all up for now, but I might be able to figure out a way. Now, I think I can at least make a start here. So yeah, the first White Wind we can't avoid for now, because Auron's just too slow. But that's fine. Double cast. So this is where we need to be a bit more careful. I'm gonna do this. So coming up next is the seal thing. And I think I can survive this as long as it's just +2. But again, it depends on what move the arm uses. So not quite there yet. Doom, okay, that's a good turn. So let's hold on. So now I kind of have to full break. Don't have a choice. I think let's Tetra Elemental here. And then this is where I'm going to threaten, and this will basically send this turn into next year. So then I won't have to deal with this arm for a long time, but this is the point where I need to actually survive. Yeah, Violent End stringing back to back is just really nasty there. So that's what I mean, like I don't know if that's a bit of an RNG, like I can survive that if it chose not to use Violent End instead. Yeah, the turn is still ultra far away, so I guess it kind of still worked. But once again, we have Ultima literally as the next turn, and because those guys died, we've kind of lost our opportunity here, I think. Let's see if a Lunar Curtain's enough to save Riku here. I don't think so. Yeah, it's 5,000 or so. So this one, I mean, it's going to be some variation of this start, but it's not quite there. I think Auron being in slow and then threatening the arm is a really nice strat. But I need to... Again, obviously, I'm losing a lot of turns overall. Because, obviously, in order to do it, Auron has to basically sacrifice all of his own turns. So it's a bit of a kind of a give and take, but I think it might be a net win if I can make it work. Because obviously the benefits are going to be that I can keep Penance and the arms under break. which means less healing. And it means they'll take a lot more damage from something like Double Cast Ultima as well. So we'll have to see. Let's start again with this. Gonna slow up Orin here. Actually, okay, let's just get going here. Still gonna set my buffs up. It's going to be White Wind, so we have, again, a little bit of time. Okay. So this is where the Threaten comes in. I think at least 2 Threaten should be very reasonable to do. I think it's like a 70% chance the second time, and I think that's definitely doable. So what we're going to do here is we're going to Healing Water first, and then I'm going to Full Break. So we should all survive Arcane Seal as a result. No, we don't. That's bullshit. You need to protect. Ah, it's just too many things to think about. Come on. I know I can make this strat work. I know I can do something with this. This is going to work. It will. I just need to implement it correctly. But it's getting to a stage where this little Penance intro scene, even though it's very short, it's kind of starting to accumulate now. I've seen it probably like 15 times. But it's very much like of all the fights I've done in the mod so far, where I've been kind of experimenting, Dark Yojimbo was the one where I had the most kind of just testing different things so far. But that one just had like one very easy, quote-unquote easy fix. Like Threaten completely just basically turned it from a very, very hard fight to win without hardcore customization to, yeah, okay, you can win this fight. This one, Threaten, is like it's a glimmer of hope, but it's far from like, oh, okay, that solved the fight now. We need to kind of figure out a way to make them both work, you know? So, I think what I want to do, this is getting annoying now, I need to just, I might use Kimari's Mighty Guard or something here. This is at least a quick overdrive that I can obtain. But Mighty Guard doesn't haste, right? Kimari hasted up. Just need to get some quicker buffs on. It's getting a bit annoying at this stage. You need Protect, you need Shell, you need like all of the elements protecting you, whatever it might be. It's just too many things that have to happen. Alright. So, now. Start with this. Let's do Full Break. Bring in Kimari for a Mighty Guard. And now I'm going to bring in Orin for the Threaten. See if we can survive. If we can survive this set of turns, then maybe we have a bit of a chance. So Arcane Seal, we now have Protect as well on top. of the power break. Just too damaging, man. Good lord. Okay, we somehow survived anyway. Phoenix down. Let's bring in Yuna. What's next? Yeah, Ultima's next. She doesn't have... She does have Shell. Okay, she's got all of them. That means we can at least do... Purifying Soul. Get Riku back in. But again, she's lost her Lunar Curtain, right? No, she hasn't. Okay, good. Yeah, unfortunately the white wind's going to come in again. See, this is where just managing Auron is too much of a problem. Come on, do your worst. Yeah. Did its worst. It's just managing those first few turns. I think already at this stage I'm just going to have to really knuckle down and just stop commentating, because I'm trying so many different things and obviously trying to explain everything every time and then showing the attempts. It's going to be like multiple hours of just the same thing over and over. So I think I'm already just going to really lock in here and just start to work things through, because this is just going to take too long otherwise. So I think it's been like... How much recording? Yeah, it's been like a couple of hours. It's been nothing too crazy. But I think at this stage I'm ready to get going here. And if I really do find a strat, I'll start at least talking through it. But it's going to be like I need to actually get started with it first. And then we'll see. Okay, my friends. This is Burke, aka Dansgway, from the future. I finally got round to editing this giant session of me trying to defeat Penance. And I knew there was a phase of it where I basically stopped commentating so I could really lock in and just try to make some progress. And that's kind of exactly what happened. Now, the good news is that this post-commentary that you're going to hear for this segment of it is just that. It's only a segment. I'd say in total, I think I literally just finished editing now. There's I think there's about 4 to 4.5 hours worth of live commentary edited stuff, including the winning battle. But there was like an hour-and-a-half sort of section in the middle where I basically took the headset off, put my own music on, I just really locked in, and I started trying to focus. And that was also the time when I started to have a few more breakthroughs in the attempt. So what I'm going to do is basically literally watch back this section and see what I did in order to actually start being able to make some progress. Because as of recording this, it's literally December 2025. And this session was recorded in April 2025. And therefore, I really do not remember like the exact steps that I took along the way in order to be able to basically break through in this fight. So I'm kind of excited to see what I did myself. And so we are going to find out together. Now, what you've seen up until this point has been pretty unsuccessful. I've not been able to really get past the first few turns. And as is the case with a lot of these Masters Mod fights, especially the tougher ones, it really is sort of overcoming that first big hurdle where you have to scramble together to find some kind of setup that can work for you, survive and find kind of that classic, I use the word all the time, I know, but it really feels like the right word to use for it, finding a foothold in the battle, and once you have started to hold on and you've established a bit of stability, then you can start to build from there and make more progress. And I just have not been able to find that yet in this fight, but this was the section of the session in which that really started to happen for me. So let's take a look at how this actually ended up happening. So first of all, let's have a look at some of the customization ideas I had for this one apparently. Again, I'm kind of watching this back in real time and kind of seeing what I did here. Thankfully, Riku still had quite a lot of flexibility in terms of the slots and stuff that she had. Her overdrives were feeling like they were increasingly crucial here, both in terms of getting buffs in, well, mostly in terms of getting buffs in, but they can probably get me out of trouble if I really needed like some kind of recovery thing, some kind of Hyper Mighty G, some kind of Final Phoenix. or anything like that. And so it felt to me like triple overdrive was definitely a worthy thing to put on Riku. Now I was struggling for this like final one, and I think what made it even more difficult for me was that in this mod, obviously you actually have a lot more versatility with customization, because obviously armors can have weapon abilities and weapons can have armor abilities, and that gives you even more choice. So yeah, it definitely made it more difficult, but ultimately it gave you a better chance of making the right choices. And so here we've got Auto Haste, Energy Preserver, that stuff we've seen already. I think to me those two are just a fantastic combination. And what I eventually started to think about was, can I essentially build kind of... we already have Ribbon available, but then using the Preservers, can we basically kind of make two different people who have Ribbon? Because I couldn't put two Ribbons on, but if I put, let's say, the right Preservers on, so like I got Energy Preserver, I've got Life Preserver, I got Sanity Preserver, and then I've got like Sense Preserver maybe on my weapon or something like that, or maybe that one I just leave out potentially. Could it essentially be as effective as having two people with Ribbon, or even better? Because obviously Life Preserver even has Doom Protection, so it's actually better than Ribbon in that sense as well. And so that's one of the things I did for Riku. So like she really has a superbly kind of protected kind of armor, which I felt was definitely going to be useful. I mean, we put Sense Preserver on there as well. It's great, but I decided to go for Sleep Proof instead, because Riku usually is not going to be doing too much attacking in this one. I think she still plays more of a supporting role. And so I think primarily I was like, let's just focus on making sure she's alive for every turn. She's in control, so she's not losing the ability to do things because of Berserk or Confuse. She's always, basically, if she has an overdrive, she's always able to use it. So that's obviously curse proof, and also not being able to, and not suffering from breaks as well, which for me was also very important. And so we built her up like that, and now I put the ribbon onto Yuna. And so in that sense, there's at least two of my three characters that will be able to cover for almost everything that I can be hit with in terms of statuses, because you're seeing so far, like from all the previews and the attempts I've had, status-wise, the battle is really nasty, as expected. I mean, they can do almost everything to you that is possible to do. And so for Yuna as well, it's similar logic to Riku. Yuna's ability to summon is obviously going to be super important for when we do eventually get to Penance having a full overdrive gauge. We're probably going to need to summon some shields. Also, it's the kind of overdrive that can get you out of trouble. Like, let's say you're really close to taking out the arms, or even killing Penance, you just need that extra like 100k damage. Otherwise, you're going to fail the fight. That's where she can come in with an overdrive, if she does have one, obviously, and help to win the day. So Yuna, to me as well, she felt like someone I really had to protect in terms of her overdrive as well. And so she also got the Energy Preserver. And well, because I was going to keep her on the front line because of the damage output that she has with double cast Ultima, it made sense to give her the protection from the breaks as well. So let's take a look at the equipment. This is what we got. So Riku's got that triple overdrive. She can still break the damage limit, so if she wants to copycat or something, she can still do big damage. And she's really, like, she's got auto haste, but she's covering a lot of the potential nasty statuses and debuffs that we could get hit by. As for Yuna, we got obviously Magic Powerhouse, we got the Magic Booster, 1 MP cost. Berserk Proof's a nice little bonus, but obviously becomes redundant once you have Ribbon on. But if I end up coming up with a different strategy where she doesn't get Ribbon, at least having the Berserk Proof kind of on there is not too bad. Magic plus 20, Ribbon, Auto Haste, and Energy Preserve. I still think it's a very strong combination. I think you can build Yuna up to be even more of a magic nuke if you really wanted her to, like really go for broke and add in like Magic Booster, Magic plus 30, Magic plus 20. You could really go pretty nuts with that. But for me at least, I tried to find a middle ground where she can still do a lot of damage, but it's still protecting quite a lot of things as well. And Auron covers a lot of things. He's got that epic weapon with Auto Shell and Auto Protect, preserves his senses and can still break damage limit, and then we've got all of these extra preservers and a slow proof as well. So Auron is pretty decked out, including Auto Protect and Auto Shell. The final thing to show is that for now I was basically deciding on potentially having Auron be my third character. It's going to be Riku, Yuna, and Auron in the front line, and as a result, since I did have one more special sphere to play with, it felt like maybe having Auron with a use could get me out of trouble as well. If he's obviously surviving a lot of moves, and he's able to heal the party and do a few extra things as well. So before each of these attempts, I had to remember to try and use these spheres as much as I could. So this was the first attempt where I started to make significant progress. So basically from the end of the live commentary, it was literally another 2 attempts where I died very quickly. But then this was the very next attempt, and already things started to change a little on this one. So let's have a look and see what actually happened. And then basically towards the end of this attempt, I realized that things are actually going pretty decently, and then I start to do live commentary again. So we've got another, I think maybe 20 minutes or so, 20-25 minutes of post commentary, and then from there on it's all going to be live. So this is literally me kind of reacting back to what I did 8 months ago on my journey to defeat Penance for the first time in the Masters mod. So same approach in general as it has been throughout, just trying my best to get enough buffs in there to keep myself alive. That oh so special foothold. I think it would have been a good drinking game throughout this series, just to take a shot every time I say foothold. Not enough to get completely drunk, but I think it'll get you to a nice place. It's just absolute key to so many of these fights. So a quick Mighty Guard here to speed up the buffing process. I think I decided against Doom. I tried to play around with it a bit, and I was like, nah, I'm not feeling this. I think if you build Kimahri in a pretty specific way, or depending where you've taken him on the grid, what kind of stats he has, what kind of equipment he has, Kimahri's Doom could end up being super useful for you in this fight, but for me at least it never really ended up working out as much. But getting an early Mighty Guard in I think is pretty nice. Auron doesn't need it, because, well, for the most part at least, because he already has Auto Protect and Auto Shell, which is pretty nice. I never minded sacrificing those healing waters early just to really help me get up to speed. But White Wind was forever going to be one of the biggest issues here. Okay, go for the Silver Hourglass to slow them back down after that White Wind. I think keeping the arms in slow is definitely pretty huge. I mean, if you look at the CTB, you can see it gives you plenty of time. And time is definitely something we need in this fight. Okay, so now we can put on the nice combination, Purify and Soul, and then full break it. Because it has to go both ways. I mean, eventually it became pretty obvious to me that, no matter how much you buff your party, if Penance doesn't have the breaks on, it's very, very difficult to stop him from killing your party members. It has to go both ways. And so after White Wind happens, you've got to try your best to reapply those breaks, otherwise you just get yourself in trouble. Star Curtains as well. We've got some of those divine moves. I think those are fire. Those are, sorry, elemental spells. No damage this time, thanks to Mighty Guard. But once we're sufficiently buffed, we won't take obscene damage from that anymore either. So this was getting the full break on nice and early, and implementing that correctly already made a big difference. So it's going to do a lot less damage to me, obviously, but you saw right there literally a massive 70k damage from Yuna there. Auron comes in with that Threaten, and there you go. That works nicely for us. Pentafire, we got some Reflect here, which helps. Oh, I think it reflected onto one of our own. That's what it looked like. So yeah, Auron did a Threaten and then died, which was not great, but he's still, this is where his Auto Shell and Auto Protect help. He's a bit more likely to still survive the next move. So Yuna continues on the attack here, doing massive chunks of damage, and you can start to see how 1,000,000 damage can actually get taken out pretty quickly here, once you get set up. So here's another mix, and this was the attempt where I finally realized, hey, wait a minute, why the hell am I not mixing Trio Quad 9? Because basically, even when you're buffed and Penance is debuffed, you're still taking these kind of numbers worth of damage. And if you look at the turns, it's already Penance's turn again. And so, basically, to me at least, it seemed like you need to heal quite regularly, and you need to heal big. And if you just try to rely on healing waters, that's just not enough. But if you obviously have Trio, you can start to use Al Bhed potions, and they can work basically like healing waters as well. And so that was really useful. I had enough gil left over. You guys saw I sold a bunch of stuff. And that enabled me to buy more Al Bhed potions. And so that was basically one of the biggest breakthroughs of this fight, remembering that I can actually use Trio of Quad 9 and how useful it would be in being able to heal quickly and efficiently in this one. So Riku already has another overdrive here. They're coming thick and fast. That triple overdrive obviously doing a lot of good work. Sometimes obviously that was a mistake. I shouldn't have used the healing water. I don't know why I did that. We had Trio. Mistake, whatever. It doesn't matter. Should always try and preserve those healing waters once you got the Trio. But there's an example of one thing Riku didn't protect against, but again, because I have Al Bhed potions, I kind of always knew that it would be okay. You saw there also, thanks to the threaten that Auron did earlier, like the white wind takes such a long time to come back, which is really useful for us. Let's see what I do here. He doesn't have... Yeah. I think it's still enough. It's just for safety. Just a little bit extra. I'm curious to see what I did next, because there's one more thing that I think makes a pretty good difference that I hadn't been using up until this point. Alright, I'm going for another mix. Let's see what we do here. Yeah, the Ultra Null, okay. So I'm really putting my focus on Yuna and Riku here, just trying to make sure they're quite indestructible. Yuna's just doing so much damage in this fight, like she becomes a real powerhouse. I've obviously been loving how powerful magic has been in this mod. It's been so great. There's definitely like physical attack ways to approach this too. It's definitely not the case that, oh, you really need a magic build to beat this guy. If I had to guess, I'd say magic is probably a bit more optimal. I think if you've been getting yourself like double cast ultimas and, you know, the fact that it's weak to the 4 elements, I do think it's a very strong way to go. But I think, okay, fine. The second one didn't hit. That's annoying. Yeah, you got punished for that. So this is where like this attempt got a bit shaky there. But yeah, as I was saying, I think because it does have those 4 elemental weaknesses, I'm pretty sure you could build yourself some really nice equipment that can exploit that too. So it's definitely doable. But I think that the magic always just felt more intuitive to me, especially because of Ultima being able to hit like all of the entities at the same time. Let's see what we go for here. Do I stay on the attack? I think I do. Interesting choice. No, I don't? Okay. Yeah. I wussed out of that one. So yeah, I think like the keys so far in this attempt have been getting the full break on there properly and in time before I got taken out. Kimari using the Mighty Guard, saving me a lot of time, because obviously you saw I'd been struggling to get all of the buffs I needed in time in the fight, but obviously Kimari saved me a ton of time. I didn't need to toss Tetra Elementals, I didn't need to toss like Lunar Curtains and all that stuff, and so I think that the speed of being able to use Mighty Guard was great. Getting the full break on properly, Auron surviving with 31, that's insane. And then yeah, starting to utilize things like Trio of Quad 9. I mean, what you can also do, I think I pretty much forgot to do it, was to use Prey. Prey also obviously heals for Quad 9 and it's a rank 2 move, I believe. But Yuna alone is just like really beast in here. I took a risk, I kind of let Auron die a little bit there, but I wanted the extra damage. And so this is already basically, I think, the first time in all of the Penance content that we've made it to a full overdrive for Penance. So you're going to see what happens when we have a full overdrive. Now, obviously, I have a turn, and, well, I have a turn with Yuna, and I certainly intend to use it. So that's exactly what I'm going to do when it's her turn. But for now, I think I've kind of forgotten I even put Trio on there. I've got like healing water. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I've got Trio on here. These are just mistakes. It's fine. It's the first time I use Trio in any of my attempts, so I probably just forgot it. So Anima does more damage from the overdrive than the Magus Sisters do, but the Magus Sisters are obviously better tanks because there's 3 of them. So for now at least I wanted to focus on just doing more damage and taking whatever was going to happen for this move. Let's see if it's still Judgment Day or if it plays out any differently. Oblivion first. And I mean, against an enemy that has 1,000,000 HP in the first form, an extra 107,000 is certainly not bad. And yeah, it's still Judgment Day. It's the same Judgment Day you all know and fear. I mean, it was already an incredibly powerful and OP move in the vanilla. Like, is there really much need to make Judgment Day any worse than it already was? I don't think so. And so, it's still Judgment Day. And so yes, being able to summon a shield for Judgment Day is also pretty damn useful. And that's another reason why this attempt managed to really start to get me much deeper into the fight. So thank you, Anima. And already this is a significant improvement from anything we've done before. Okay, there you go. Managed to keep Auron alive here just about. Oh my god. Yeah, okay. With how slow Auron is, getting delayed by something like concussion is absolutely horrible. But he's still alive. Praise be to Yevon. Might as well keep him alive. Am I going to remember that I have Trio at some point or not? I think I do. There you go. Okay, good job. Good job past me. Yeah, because you just can't survive otherwise. Like, you do not have enough healing resources to go through. Well, I don't, of course, in my kind of... with my inventory set, I just don't have it. So I really needed to invest in those Albed potions, plus Trio. And as I say, to really make it go further, Yuna can use Prey instead, but I basically never end up doing it. Right, White Wind is back, and so now it's a case of, again, I really need that full break back on quickly to be able to continue my onslaught and obviously maximize my chances of not being killed by these ferocious moves. But since Yuna can't do it, we have to just keep going for now. It's such a difference. Look at that. Yeah, it's less than half the damage compared to when it's broken. And this was the kind of stage where I was like, man, I want to do a full break, but like I don't have the MP. Now I have to waste a turn trying to get some MP back. I wish I didn't have to do that. Well, I wish there was a way. And I figure it out later. For now, I need to just give myself some MP, I think, otherwise I can't do it. Or maybe I rub a couple brain cells together here. Let's have a look. God damn, I spent like 2 minutes trying to think of this. I think I was looking it up, yeah. Okay. So Turbo Ether plus Blessed Gem gives you Freedom X. I was like, wait a minute, I'm not dying in this fight. And if I'm not dying in this fight, what if I give myself 0 MP cost? That would be kind of nice. And then I can use Quick Pockets whenever I want. I can use Full Break, and I can do all of these nice things without having to worry about MP. Because the problem with Freedom X in the past was A, obviously I didn't really remember it, but also I just couldn't stay alive long enough for me to think that I could actually benefit from it. Because you need to stay alive. I'm pretty sure it's something that once you get KO'd, like you can't... It's not something that kind of overrides that, right? So once I realized that, hold on a minute, I'm actually staying alive in this fight now. It seems like a pretty good idea. Now that was risky. We could have got wiped out here. I trusted myself. Orin on 63, so he survived with a 31 and a 63. So I took a risk there, but it seemed to pay off. And so now you can see the parameters are kind of back in play. I've got... I can get the break back on. Yuna can start the onslaught again. I have 0 MP cost. I have all my buffs. So this was the first time I really broke through in the fight, and things were already looking very different to how they did for the first, like, 2.5 hours or so worth of content that you end up seeing. It took me a while to decide what to do here. I went for, I guess, the Purifying Salt, yeah, and then full break. There we go. 3,800 damage. Go Orin. But I think he dies now. I think he doesn't have the Ultra Novel. Well, I guess it's broken, maybe? Nah, his magic defense is so bad. So I think this was also an attempt where I realized that Orin's really bad magic defense. Like, I can make him survive, definitely, but he's still a bit of a liability compared to having, say, Lulu there. But Yuna really getting back on that damage now. And look at these turns. Zero MP cost was another big thing, I think, for me in this fight. Because Quick Pockets is just so useful as well. It's absolutely huge. And, well, full break, obviously. And that triple overdrive's really been working nice. I mean, it comes back so fast. So you saw there, she doesn't have the Sense Preserver, but realistically, it just doesn't matter for this setup. It's really the Yuna magic machine here. She's nuking it. And so yeah, this is literally what a foothold looks like. It's not perfect because I think Orin is still too vulnerable here. He keeps dying. But I think for Yuna and Riku, I really proved like, yeah, this is the setup. Like I can work with this. At least for the first form, this will get me through. Yuna gets her overdrive back relatively quickly as well, and all we need to do is just make sure that before Judgment Day, Yuna gets a turn to summon. We obviously do not want to face that. Yeah, just in case I wanted to use magic, like I wanted to copycat or something. Does copycat work with silence? It probably does, right? I don't know. I still did it just in case. And now we get a bit of a null. So I'm trying to now buff Orin up and keep him in the party and stop him from dying as well. So I figured if I can also do that for Orin, where he's a bit less vulnerable from dying to things like Ultima, then we really should be in business. There we go. Obviously these nubbles are extra nice as well because they just give you that immunity as well. Not taking any risks here, just in case something happens that can kill Riku. And Pentathandara could if enough of them hit Riku. Oh wait, no, that's a lie. I got my Star Curtains, I guess. It's not a problem. So yeah, I could have taken a risk, but I can now Grand Summon and avoid another Judgment Day. So I think this time, yeah, I opt for Energy Blast as another one of the best overdrives that I have. I think the arms absorb elements, one of them absorbs 2 and the other one absorbs 2, so I wanted to just use my non-elemental stuff in terms of overdrives. So yeah, this was my second Judgment Day saved, and so I was looking pretty good in this fight. It was definitely a big relief because up until this point I'd done really poorly, and this was the first fight where I was like, oh, okay, I can do this. I can make this happen. It's definitely a bit ahead of schedule. that I had a breakthrough like this. Like, I thought an attempt like this would basically be kind of the first attempt of the next session. Like, it would take me until the next session to even start to get to something like this. But this was looking pretty promising here. I've got so many buffs on that it takes ages to cycle through them all just to make sure. Okay. Riku got hit with something. I noticed that it didn't say immune, so I was just kind of looking to see what it was for a sec. Now, again, another problem with Auron being out here is that it just kind of feels like he doesn't have anywhere near the same firepower that the magic users have. So I thought maybe I can still put some debuffs on some of these guys, maybe? What do I try and do here? Trying to threaten Penance. Yeah, so this is why ultimately another reason I kind of didn't end up going with Auron for like the successful attempt, because once you have established yourself, these are the turns in which you can really do something and kind of move the battle forward and attack. And it just felt to me like Auron still probably didn't have the same kind of firepower because he is slow and his weapons aren't geared towards being great attacking weapons. They're more just for like tank support, you know? And so I think that's just, he didn't give me enough forward momentum. He is useful, obviously, for helping you survive. But I think if you prep pretty much any party member the same way you prepped Auron, they'd also be able to survive. Get that scan on so we can see how close we are. Because at this stage I was like, wait a minute, I've actually done quite a lot of damage to this guy. I was like, holy shit. Only 150k left. That's like basically 2 sets of ultimates from Yuna, and we've already beaten the first form. So I was slowly starting to get a little more excited at this stage. And when I switch back to live commentary, you'll also hear something pretty funny. But let's just say I was getting a bit excited about this attempt. I'm just basically staying alive and stalling at this point until Yuna can really get back in and do some damage. Kimari doesn't have his double HP. And is he going to survive? Yes, he is. GG's. Alright, Doom. Again, this is one where only Kimari is in danger here, I think. Yep. Okay, Yuna's getting back at it again. And it's going to bring us pretty damn close. Nice. Riku getting in on the action as well. Doing about half the damage that Yuna is, but hey, when you add it up, it's still pretty nice. Okay. So, I think I got to this stage, and then I was kind of like deliberating on how to move things forward or what I should do. And what I will do is I'll basically sign off now from this post-commentary. This was basically the entire post-commentary section. And what we'll do is go back to live commentary where I kind of realize I'm onto something. And I put my headset back on, and I start to commentate again on the fight. So yeah, enjoy the rest of the Penance episodes. I'll hand you back to April 2025 Burke to continue this epic journey. Okay, my friends, it has been quite a long recording session, but nothing too insane. I think it's maybe been about 3.5, 4 hours since I started recording, including all of the extra testing and that kind of thing that I've done. And I'm actually able to now hopefully complete Penance in the Final Fantasy X Masters mod. I almost kind of missed the finale. I got so kind of locked in, I had my headset off. And I was just really like focusing on the fight and just listening to my own music and that whole thing. And then before I knew it, I realized I was actually getting really close. And I'm in a situation where I can literally just put my headset back on and start recording. Sometimes like the whole no commentary recording thing is useful for me because I'm much more able to kind of do it very late night or on the weekends. and just put in a few extra shifts to be able to get through. But thankfully that stuff hasn't seemed to be necessary because we've already had quite a big breakthrough. Now, this might not yet be the winning attempt. I literally just remembered the scan text. I'm going to have another read of it. So we're not done yet. I mean, it looks like we're literally like 1 or 2 hits away here, but this is a dangerous situation because it says has 2 full life bars. So this is me getting to the end of the first life bar. Now, in terms of what I've been doing, I'm sure I would have discussed it in kind of like post-commentary at this point. So I'm not going to talk too much more about it, but I'm going to try to finish it off. Now, one mistake I made was that literally while I was getting my headset back on and starting to do this little kind of re-intro, I remembered the scan text. And so I was basically trying to swap in like all of my characters, kind of a bit of a victory lap. And I brought in Lulu for like a bit of extra using bio and that kind of thing. But now I realize that Penance is going to come back. So I need to be incredibly careful here and get... crap. Yeah, I need to get... I literally have no haste left. Great. I need to get Lulu out of there, like, as soon as possible. But now I've got... Oh my god. This is not good. Yeah, okay, hold on. There's got to be a better way I can do this. I'm literally going to mix a Hyper Mighty G. Just so that we don't get reflected. Okay. So let's just get healed back up here. This should have been like me finishing it off, but I literally remembered. I don't want Lulu in the front line when Penance comes back. So what's going to happen here is technically I've only just finished the first form. And the interesting part there is that obviously once I kind of took the headset off and I started really kind of knuckling down, ultimately I kind of started to figure it out and gain a lot more momentum in the fight pretty fast. And to the point where I was like, hold on a minute, yes, this seemed very, very hard at the start, but now like all I had to do was find my footing one time, and already it's looking like we have a pretty good chance of actually winning this fight. So what's going on here? Like, isn't this a little bit too easy? And then I remember the second form, and now literally as I'm thinking out loud, I'm like, shit, probably what's going to happen when you kill it is the bottom part's going to come off, and we're going to see some new shit. So this is incredibly dangerous at the moment, and I've gone from like feeling like basically it's over and I'm ready to start giving my kind of victory speech and talk about my whole thing to holy shit, we're still potentially nowhere near finished, because if we kill it here, it comes back with a second full life bar and it has a bunch of new moves and a bunch of different things going on that make it even harder, and I die, then it's kind of a little bit back to the drawing board, and I'll have to see how it goes. So I've rejoined for live commentary for now, but it might potentially be a little bit short-lived based on how it goes. So we'll see. I need to be very, 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 very careful here. Can't steal the turn back, annoyingly. Basically, I still want to make sure Lulu's out of there before we do anything. So I'm going to still give her a stamina tablet anyway and hope we kind of survive this move, whatever it is. I mean, I might still need to swap her in, but you can see her haste is gone. Mighty Guard comes in. It's going to die anyway, so it will lose the Mighty Guard status, which isn't so bad. Okay. So, let's see. 26,000. Okay. So all we need to do really is just survive whatever this turn is, and then we can really start to put the pressure back on. So I have been spamming Trio of Quad 9 and Albed Potions. They've been working really well for me, and I don't intend to change that anytime soon. Thankfully, we haven't eaten through too many of them, but Auron doesn't have the Trio, so I need to remember that, because he's died. He's got some of the buffs back on, but he doesn't have Trio. So let's do this. Okay. I think let's just start with the Purifying Salt. I think we need to really start like getting it done here at this stage. So I think I should have enough here. Right, let's do it. Double cast. At this stage, maybe I need to scan the arms as well, honestly. But every time they die and come back, I probably need to scan again. But let's just finish it here and see what happens. So this will be the first time I've managed to defeat, like, part 1 of Penance. Let's see what's going to happen here. So, obviously, it used to be Immolation. What is it going to be now? Literally need to start noting down stuff again. Sure, we're going to see some new moves here. Probably moves we're not going to like. I mean, does it have a new scan now, I wonder? In any case, I think I'm just going to commit to the full break here. Just get it done. Okay, at least we can still do that. That's something. We'll split the turns here. Now, are we missing anything at this stage? I think we kind of basically have almost every buff that we can have. We're missing Trio of Quad 9 for Auron, but that's kind of about it, I think. So I really don't know what it's going to do. Thankfully, we've already mixed the Freedom X, so I think that should at least be good. Might be a bit too risky to try and full break here. We've also run out of ways to slow using items. Yeah, it's just this is just me confirming that they have indeed been slowed. Like, the CTB is unaffected here, so they're definitely slowed. So just running a few more checks on some things before I really get going again. So yeah, we'll split the turns here. What can we even use on a turn like this? I guess we have Poison Fangs now. We could do that. Penance wasn't immune to poison, right? Yeah. Let's do that. And then let's see this new move. I guess gems are going to do nice damage now. I kind of forgot with Riku I can do nice damage there. So Ultima first. It's still looking pretty good. I guess the problem with the gems is that they'll kind of be distributed. If only it just hit Penance, that would be really nice, but not the case. I'm going to take a chance here and mix one more trio. I think we're still in a good place. If whatever the new move is, if we can navigate that, then I think we still have a great chance. But we need to make sure we survive. Or we do a bit of this type of stuff and then we potentially copycat. So, hold on. Quick pockets. Still going to do this for now. Okay. Yeah, we've got the 3 reflects going. Still keeping the arms alive. The one time I did kill the arm, it immediately regenerated and it caused me a lot of problems. So for now, at least, I'm not worrying myself about that. I'm gonna still... These are the last ones I have. I don't know if I can mix any more trio after this, but I think we've got to go for it. I think all 3 of my characters being able to heal everybody at once, I think it's really necessary. Just gonna go here. Trying to be patient here. White Wind has happened. Okay. So now we can't use any more... There's no more hourglass stuff happening. Who's getting the attack first? Let's start here. Eye of God. Okay, this is the new move. So we've got Ultima, and we've got Eye of God. What does this do? Man. Man! And look at that. That's so unlucky. Get out of here. Back to like post commentary. Forget this. Yeah, I'm not happy. I'm not happy with that. That's some shitty ass RNG right there. That sucks. That really sucks. And well, a big part of the strat was obviously having Trio to heal everybody. Yeah, we're effed. Well and truly effed. What I do want to see is if we get a different scan text. I feel like that I've already lost here. There's no point. I can't like lose all of my buffs here and then try to start again. Obviously, gut reaction is Auron's got to try and Sentinel. And it might be doable, but that's shitty. If only it was anyone else that like we would have been able to summon and it would have been fine. And then we'd have had a chance to try and build into it, but because the thing is, like, we're generally well prepared. Like, yes, it drains my MP, but we can all protect our MP. We have 0 MP cost. That's so shit. That is so shit. Damn you. Yeah, it's got some delay, everything. It's basically like you need a Sentinel to deal with that. We're just going to lose way too much ground after this Judgment Day. It's just too much. Way too much. It's so annoying because obviously, like, in general, you think, well, all of the party members are alive. You still have a whole bunch of buffs. You're doing fine, but you're not. Let's see. Also, all of your buffs are gone. So it seems like if you don't Sentinel it, you're kind of finished. But the good news here is that at least for the first phase of the fight, I'm a lot more confident now. I've definitely got some ideas for how to get through that bit. So it's definitely much better. But it feels like in this form, if you don't have a Sentinel to take that hit for you, or you don't break damage limit, there's kind of no way. And I kind of feel like I need all the slots. Riku can't break damage limit anyway, so she needs to be Sentineled to protect her. Yuna could, but I need the slots, I think, for other stuff. Like, auto haste is kind of keeping me honest here, but even with auto haste, look how far she got bumped down. So it feels like it's just got to be Auron, which normally is fine, but I just didn't think that it would affect things in that way. That's such a shame. That is such a shame. Yeah, I've got nothing. Flipping Judgment Day. Yeah, since I've got nothing anyway, I'm just going to scan the second form, see if we can see anything. Horrendous timing. It's really annoying. Regenerates dead arms, which also resets his gauge, but subsequently speeds up his charge rate. I guess I could have potentially killed the arms. Yeah, that part of it I forgot. I remembered the 2 full life bars right at the end, but that's a real shame. So we definitely had some things that were working very well for us in this fight, I have to say. And Yuna was like crunching through the damage really nicely. So I think this was like a really... I went from basically not even being able to survive like 4 of Penance's attacks to beating the first form. There was a massive kind of leap. So that's definitely given me some confidence. Yes, this one hurts, but I feel confident that from here we can start to push through for the win. Like a lot of what I did in this attempt, I think, can carry through. So, yeah, harsh loss, but I think we can potentially get it done. So, depending on how it goes, I might try to start like the live commentary again in the second form, because it's just going to take some time to keep getting back through the first form. But I think we should be able to get this done soon. Okay, my friends, welcome back to a new session of the Final Fantasy X Masters Mod versus Penance. So let me give you a little summary of what happened in the last session, because we are back to live commentary here. Normally, what my plan was to basically have my first attempts, spend like a session basically doing real live commentary, and then just kind of switch off commentary mode and just really zone in and try to get the win. Now, unfortunately, in the previous session, I could not make that happen. I think I've recorded for like 5 hours or something. And I definitely had a lot of different attempts and just trying a lot of different things. And by the end of it, I was getting through the first form relatively consistently, but the second form, with the setup that I was having to get through the first form, it really just didn't seem to be working. And because it's one of these fights where it almost reminds me a little bit of Seymour Flux Mark II, in the sense that I could sort of get a handle on the earlier part of the fight, but then much like when Seymour Flux kind of goes into total annihilation mode, a lot of attempts, if you're not ready for it, can fail after like 10, 15, 20 minutes, 30 minutes of prep. This is kind of similar, so I started to get better at the first form, but it was still taking me quite a lot of time to defeat it, and then within like 3 to 5 minutes of the second form, I just kept dying. So I kind of ended the session there, and I was left kind of scratching my head, trying to understand what is it that I need to do to get through the second form. And it's kind of funny that there's this whole thing that I'm sure a lot of you guys have experienced before, where if you're really struggling on a boss, it could be a game like, for example, Soulsborne games like Bloodborne, Elden Ring, something a bit more action, high-paced as well. It doesn't have to be a game like Final Fantasy. You kind of have a thing where you've been trying for hours and hours, and then you stop, and then you just kind of take a break, you're like, okay, that's enough, and then you come back like the next day, or even the next week, or the next month, and then suddenly you just kind of get through, but for whatever reason. And I'm not saying that I will get through this time, but I did have like 1 or 2 ideas that didn't come to me while I was actually trying the fight. And so that's why I've switched back to live commentary, because I feel like I've got a handle on the first form. At least I know how to get through it, but in terms of the second form, I also think I have 1 or 2 new ideas that might give me a chance to actually get the win in this particular session. So I'm going to give it another go, and I'm going to see if I can make it through. So in editing, I really don't know how much of it I've shown and how much of it I haven't. Is there any post-commentary? Is there not? I don't really know how I've handled it so far. But what I will do is basically kind of go back to the start of this particular section. So I haven't customized any of my kind of final Penance equipment just yet. And so from here, I'm going to have to kind of decide how best to handle it. One of the things that crippled me the most in these attempts is that as soon as I saw the Eye of God move in the second form, I didn't get a chance to Sentinel it the first time, and it already took quite a lot of effort to even get to the second form for the first time. Then Eye of God obviously looked exactly the same as Immolation. It looked like it basically had the same kind of effects, and it hit for what looked like a fixed quad 9 damage. And so obviously I just couldn't handle it because I wasn't set up to deal with an attack like that. But my immediate reaction was, hey, Immolation can be guarded by Sentinel. That means that I need to try and develop a Sentinel strategy for the second form. Unfortunately, that wasted me quite a lot of time because I just didn't know that Sentinel doesn't work on Eye of God. Now, Karifean himself, we did have a chat about it after my kind of first session yesterday. I just kind of gave him a little bit of an update. Just let him know what I've been trying and how things have gone so far. And he did say that like one of the kind of slightly more regretful things he has about this fight is that he couldn't really figure out a way for players to understand how Eye of God worked without literally experiencing it first. So there is kind of like a harshness to that move where, as I say, it might have already taken you a long time to even see it for the first time. And then depending on the circumstances, you might not have been able to try something like Sentinel the first time you come across it. And it's, I think, very intuitive for anyone who's ever beaten Penance before to see a move like that, see that it's quad 9, see that it's exactly the same animation as Immolation, and then say, okay, so you need someone with break HP limit and Sentinel to make sure that your characters can keep their buffs and they won't die from the move. But then, after you do all of that, then you realize that actually, no, that doesn't work. And so that part of it is not completely intentional, but he said I just couldn't find a way to kind of show the player exactly what it does without them experiencing it themselves. So fair play. At least it's one of those where Karifean is aware of it. And it seems like it hasn't been implemented exactly how he would have liked. But now that we know how it works, well, I think I know how it works, now I need to kind of think a little bit differently about how I'm going to potentially tackle the second form. So this session is really all about that second form. Now what's likely going to happen is I'm going to start to try and build for the second form and then die a lot more on the first form as a result. But maybe if I can kind of string it all together, then I'll be able to get a clean run and finish things off. So one of the main things that I'm thinking at this stage is that in most of my runs I've been using Auron, and he's been really nice in terms of obviously once you double up his HP, he has a lot of HP, and that makes him a good candidate. But in the second form, Penance will gain a tier of agility, and this is a tier of agility that you cannot kind of take away. You can't slow him, you can't delay him, you can't threaten him, you can't do anything. So you literally, it's one of those, just deal with it. He has better stats and he's faster. You need to figure out a way around that. And obviously this is a place where Auron's very, very poor agility really starts to get exposed in that third form, because you need to work fast. And I literally had a run where I gave like auto haste on him, and even then he is the only character that is on the tick speed tier that he is. The rest of them are all quicker than Auron is. And so I'm thinking at this stage, is it really worth still having Auron in the front line? Also, I feel like the way that I'm set up, it's a fight that doesn't work as well with physical attacks, personally. So I'm wondering if I should swap Auron with Lulu. If I can build something good for Lulu, it might be worth kind of again going back to the start. Like my first inkling was to try out an all-girls team. And what I do have is I have one more special sphere. So I can teach one more person use. So I can literally have Lulu, Riku, and Yuna on the front line. All of them have the use ability. And obviously I've started to dabble a lot more in things like Trio Quad 9. I bought lots of Albed potions to just use them in the fight because I don't need Gil after this one. And so maybe my first kind of thing will be to swap Lulu with Auron. Another reason I want to do this is going to build into kind of the second part of the idea that I have. And that is the fact that if you look at the center text, it talks about Penance's arms absorbing gravity damage. Now, it took me literally like during all of my testing and my attempts so far, this didn't click. But yes, literally after I stopped playing yesterday, I was like, hold on, wait a minute. Does this mean that if we are able to engineer a situation where we take both of the arms out, before Penance's next turn, does that mean that demi damage / gravity damage actually starts to work? And if that is the case, then we can, once we get to the second form, if we can start to time things correctly, we can really launch some huge damage. So we can do like a Demi Fury to launch the second form. We can double cast Demi. We can use maybe Shadow Gems. There's a lot of options for us to do massive gravity damage when the arms are down in the second form. And so that means that the general idea here is to try and get to the second form with Riku, Yuna, and Lulu. And then once we do that, kind of try to time things in a very particular way so that the arms get taken out. And then once we enter the second form, hit it with the gravity magic very hard, try to do as much damage as possible, and then once the arms come back, that's obviously when the fun starts, because then I'd obviously need to try and take them out again somehow before I get destroyed. The reason I thought this would be a good strategy is not only because obviously the gravity damage is huge, but potentially even more importantly, we get to slow Penance down, because instead of using its regular move, it's going to be using the regeneration instead. And it seems to me like it can only regenerate one arm at a time. So it basically gives you two quote-unquote free turns against Penance, and in that window we can do potentially a giant amount of damage. So that's the general idea. And now I need to really kind of go back to the drawing board and see how I can set the three girls up to see if they can survive the same way that they did when Auron was there. So we'll take a look and see our options. Okay, so for today's first test, I'm going to go for basically something like this. I don't think this is going to work. This is just going to be the first kind of feeler to see how we do here. Again, I'm still trying my best with like my equipment to cover as many of the bases as possible. It's definitely a fight that's kind of designed for, I think, you're not just going to have one armor that can do everything. You're going to have to sacrifice some things here and there. So, for example, Lulu's vulnerable to the breaks, but we'll kind of have to make do with what we can. Yuna has this particular setup, but she is missing break HP limit. So for the second form, we're just going to kind of see how it goes, honestly. We might just have to kind of scramble and see what we can do. Characters I'm generally not going to use. I'm just still giving them something anyway, just in case they need to swap in and they can somehow survive something. Auron we're kind of leaving on the sideline for now. We'll see how we do with him. And something like this for Waka, just like coming in, potentially a bit of extra damage. And this is the one that we have for Riku. So since the overdrives, I think for Riku and for Yuna are going to be the most important, I'm generally going to do it like that. And I'm going to try to charge as many overdrives as I can before heading into the second form. So might be a bit of a kind of overdrive dump for the second form. And we'll just see how we do. So in my mind, this is kind of like a Seymour Flux Mark II, but like super souped up version. Another reason I wanted Lulu in the front line is because she also knows how to use quick pockets, and so that would leave us with 2 characters that can use quick pockets. If anyone is zombified, you can actually do really nice like quick damage using quick pockets, so I've been enjoying using that as well. Let's get as many Owlbear potions as possible. At this stage, you can really start to just sell everything.
Thank you.
Anything that's like not specifically being used at this stage, just get rid of it. Let's see.
Thank you.
So at this stage, it's more than possible to just like sell what you have left and basically have pretty much 99 Owlbear potions if you need it. 99 potions, all of that kind of stuff. So I could probably get some more remedies as well, but I think it's not that necessary. Like you could, in my run so far, I basically haven't been using elixirs either. You could literally sell elixirs. Like you can, there are no fights after this, so you can just kind of sell whatever the hell you want and just get all the items. So gonna put my save in and then give it my first go with this particular setup. See how we do.